Hi there guys, Riyadh here from tabletopminis.com and welcome to another Age of Sigmar battle report. So today we're going to be bringing you High Elves versus Dwarfs, or Elves versus Duardin. Again, we're going to be using slightly bigger armies than our last game, and we've got a bit more balance in the armies here, so it should make for a better report. Before we get started, I'd just like to thank everybody who gave us all that positive feedback on the last video, liked, commented and subscribed. It's very much appreciated.
Yeah, that was great. It really inspires us to do more videos.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for that.
And also Emmanuel, a big thank you to you for being our first patron supporter, so thanks very much for that. Okay, so let's show you the armies. Okay, so here we've got the High Elves, and they're going to be led by Prince Tyrion. And you can see his brother here, Teclis. He's in the army as well as a wizard. And then we've got 20 archers. So because they're 20 in size, they get a special rule, they get +1 to hit. And then we've got a White Lion Chariot and a Repeater Bolt Thrower here. And then we've got 10 Swordmasters of Hoth, and they have the full command. We've got full command in them archers also. And a Great Eagle. And then we've got 8 Silver Helms with full command also. So that's the High Elves.
Okay guys, this is the Duardin army, and that's led by Belgar Ironhammer. We've got a Rune Lord and a Dragon Slayer. We've got 10 Hammerers with a full command. We've got 10 Longbeards with a full command. We've got 20 Warriors with a full command. We've got a Gyro Bomber. We've got a Dwarf Cannon, an Organ Gun, and a Grudge Thrower. And that's going to be supported by Grim Burloxen. So what that means is for each one of the war machines they get additional benefits for being next to an engineer. Like for the Grudge Thrower, it gets to shoot twice. The Organ Gun gets to reroll failed jams, and the cannon gets to reroll failed hits. And this is a formation from the War Scroll called the Dispossessed Artillery Battery. And what that does is it allows the crew to reroll failed save rolls in the shooting phase, and it means that they don't have to take any battle shock tests.
Okay, and again we've chosen to play on the Realm of Life, so you choose a realm to play on, but it has no effect for this game. And we're going to roll for scenery, so 2d6 for each 2 foot squared, so 6 times. Start with this corner, which is a 5, so that's 2 terrain features. Then here, a 6, which is 1 terrain feature, and over here, a 5, which is 2 terrain features. Then over in that corner, an 11, which is choose from 0 to 3 terrain features. So should we say 0 maybe?
Okay, 0.
Yep. And then over here, 7, which is 1 terrain feature, and finally an 11. So we can choose again for there. Should we just say 1?
1, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so terrain has been set up, and we have in this corner 2 items, terrain features. We've got 1 in the back there, 1 there, 1 here, and 2 over here. So now we're going to roll on the scenery table to see what each type of scenery is. So for the rocky outcrop here, we've got a 4, which is deadly. For the cottage here, we've got a 6, which is sinister. For the ruins here in the middle, we've got a 3, which is inspiring. For the forest here, we've got a 5, which is mystical. And the hill here, we have 2, which is arcane. And then over there, that forest, we have a 4, which is deadly. And the hill here in the middle is a 5, which is mystical. Okay, now we're going to roll to see who gets to split the battlefield, and High Elves get a 5, Dwarfs get a 6. So how would you like to divide the battlefield? So divide it on the line.
Let's go diagonal.
Okay, so we're going to cut the board diagonally. Okay, so we've divided the board diagonally as per the diagram from the 4-page rulebook, and I'm going to choose to start on this side. So High Elves start here, Dwarfs start here, and Dwarfs are first to deploy.
So we deploy the first unit.
Okay, and the cannon, Dwarf cannon's been set up here on the hill, and just within 3 inches of that mystical forest. And because it's mystical forest, what that means is on a 2+ every turn, he can re-roll any to wound rolls, but on a 1 then they can't do anything for that turn. So a little bit of a gamble, but I think it's generally quite a good buff. And for this cliff edge, we're just going to say on a 4+ you're allowed to run up there, otherwise you'll need to come from that side. So a 4, so you can actually run up there. Okay, and I've set up my 20 High Elf archers just here, so they're just in front of the hill there. Organ gun set up here on the hill, and now the Swordmasters have been set up here, and they're all within an inch of each other. And the Grudge Thrower has been set up on the hill as well, and the Silver Helms have been set up over here, 12 inches away from enemy territory. And now the Warriors have been set up on the hill over here, and that hill is a mystical hill, so not only does it provide a +1 cover if you take a charge while you've got your unit fully within that terrain feature, also every turn on a 2+ they get to reroll their to wound, so quite a defensive position there. And I'll place my chariot here, and the Dragon Slayer has been placed just behind the hill there, kind of hiding out line of sight. And I'll place Tyrion just here next to the chariot, and now the Hammerers have been set up just over here, and I've just set up Teclis just here. So he can get double range spells if he gets 3 above the cast power of the spell, so I'm kind of hoping to keep him away from trouble and away from shooting, but still kind of within functional range. Grimper Loxon, the engineer, has been set up just here, and now the Repeater Bolt Thrower has been placed here, and now we've got the Longbeard set up here on the hill, and my Eagle set up just on flank there, and that's High Elf deployment finished. So Duardin have completed their deployment, so we've got the Jar Bomber here, and then over there we've got Belagar and the Rune Lord. So that is deployment complete.
Okay, so the Grudge Thrower is going to have a grudge against the unit of High Elf archers, and that'll give it rerolls to hit and to wound.
Okay, and the High Elves have 45 models, and Duardin 57, so we don't have any sudden death rules there, so fairly balanced. And just to say that Tyrion is the warlord of the High Elves, and Belagar is the warlord for the Dwarfs, or Duardin. And as the High Elves finish deployment first, I get to choose who starts the first battle round, and I'm going to take it myself. So into High Elf turn 1. Okay, so I'll start by using my command ability Defender of Ulthuan from Tyrion. So all units within 24 inches get his bravery. And next, Teclis is going to try and cast Arcane Bolt on them Longbeards over there. So the normal range is 18 inches, but for Teclis, if you can roll 3 or more above the cast value of the spell, you can double the range. So that's 34 inches over to there. So it's got a cast value of 5, so I need an 8 or more to double the range, but he's got the Moon's Staff of Lilith, or sorry, he's got the Blessings of Lilith, so he adds 2 to his roll, so I need 6+ basically to get this. And he makes it on 10. And Arcane Bolt does a D3 mortal wounds, so that is 1. So 1 wound, mortal wounds mean no saves, so they're down to 9. Okay, now Teclis is going to try and cast Mystic Shield on the archers here, which would give them a +1 to their saves, and it's got a cast value of 6, so I need a 4+. Oh, which I don't get, I get a 3, so that hasn't gone off. And lastly, because he's Teclis, he can cast 3 spells, so he's going to cast Tempest, which is a special spell for him, on the Longbeards over there. And what that does is 1 mortal wound, and it cuts in half the run, charge, or move rate of that unit. So it's got a cast value of 5, So I need a 3+, which I make, and that's it. It can't be dispelled because his Rune Lord isn't within 18 inches of Teclis. So that's one of the good things about if you can double the range of your spells, you can effectively stay out of range of the unbindings or dispels, which is quite good for Teclis. So that's one dead, and they're at half rate movement. Now into movement, and my archers are going to move forward 6. So one change with this game is if you move, there's no penalty to your shooting. So as long as you don't run, they can just shoot as normal. Okay, so the Swordmasters are going to run towards this rune over there. So that's a d6 plus 6. So that's 12 inches. Which will get them into the rune. And that's all of the Swordmasters in the rune. And because the unit's completely within a terrain piece, they get cover save of a +1. And next, Teclis is just going to move 6. Put him up here. And the Repeater Bolt Thrower still got 2 crew, so it can move 4 inches. If any of them crew were dead, it would move less. But I'm just going to shuffle it forward, and there's no penalty to the shooting for doing that. So just want to get it within better range of that side of the table. Now Tyrion's going to run forward, so it's 12 inches plus d6, so that's 18 inches. So that will take him to up here. The White Lion Chariot is a movement of 9, so that is, and he's running, so that's 13 inches forward. Which puts him just up here. Silver Helms are going to run also, so that is 12 normal plus 5, so 17 inches to move up to. Put them up here. So Silver Helms I'm just going to put up here. And my Great Eagle, which has got movement of 16, I'm just going to bring him forward a little bit, just up to here. I'm kind of trying to stay out of charge range of his dwarfs. And that's movement complete. Okay, so start with shooting, and my archers here are going to shoot at the dwarf cannon over here. So they've got a range of 20 inches, which they're within. And because there's 20 of them, they get a +1 to hit. So they normally hit on 4s, so they hit on 3s now. And also once per game you can use Storm of Arrows, which is an ability that allows them to double their attacks, as long as there's no enemies within 3 inches. So I'm going to use that. So we've got 19 guys and a hero. So that is 38 attacks. And 2 for the hero. And on 3s for the normal guys, and the yellow dice are hitting on 2s. Okay, so both the yellows have hit. These 2 I'm going to have to reroll. And hitting on 3. Okay, so that's 26 hits, and we're wounding here on 4s. So that's 15 wounds. Oh, 16, sorry.
Okay, so the cannon has a 4+ save, but because it's in a terrain piece, it gets +1. And because it's part of this formation, it gets to reroll failed save rolls. So it's needing
so 3+
3+ rerollable. 7 rerolls. So that is 1 wound.
1 wound. So 26 wounds.
That's quite an impressive formation bonus there. So the cannon is down to 3 wounds.
Next, the Repeater Bolt Thrower is going to shoot at the unit of Dwarf Warriors on the hill there. So that's 12 shots, and we are hitting on 4, sorry. So that's 8 hits. Rolling to wound on 3+ is 4 wounds.
And that's a 5+ normal save with a 4+ cover. Is there any rend?
There is -1.
So 5+ saves. So 3 are dead.
With wound allocation, you can choose where the wounds go to. I know in the last video there was some comments about allocating wounds, but you can choose where to take them. So there's no more shooting, and we don't have anything to do in the charge phase or the combat phase. So we're straight into battle shock tests, which in each player's phase, battle shock phase, any models that have took, any units that have got casualties or models slain need to battle shock test. So we'll start with the warriors here. So we roll a d6 and then we add the number of casualties. So that's 3 plus 3,
which is 6.
6, and their bravery is 6. So none of their models flee.
And for the Longbeards,
yep, we had
their bravery 7.
Okay, we had 2 deaths or 2 casualties plus 2 is 4, so they're okay as well.
Yeah,
nobody flees. And that's it. It's into turn 2 for the Duardin, or turn 1 for the Duardin.
Okay, because the hill is mystical, we have to test for every unit that's within 3 inches of it. So we need to roll a dice, and on a 2+, they get a bonus to wound rolls.
Well, they can reroll to wound.
They can reroll to wound. And on a 1, that means they're effectively paralyzed.
Yeah, they're befuddled, so they can't do anything.
So let's roll for the Dwarf Warriors. They're okay. And for the Dragon Slayer, that's okay. And for the Longbeards, they're okay. And for Belgar's befuddled. And for the Rune Lord, he's okay. And this hill over here is mystical, or the forest, sorry, the forest is mystical. So these artillery pieces are within 3 inches. And so we have to make a test for the engineer as well. So for the engineer has befuddled as well. For the organ gun is okay. For the cannon's okay. And for the grudge thrower, the grudge thrower is okay. So just the engineer is befuddled. Okay, so into the movement phase, and the gyro bomber is going to move up 12 inches. So the hammers are going to run, and that's going to be 9 inches. The Rune Lord's going to move forward 4 inches. And the Longbeards are going to use their musician to sound the advance, and what that means is that you don't have to roll to see how far you run, you just move 4 extra inches. So I'm going to move 8 inches up. Okay, so the gyro bomber is going to shoot a scatter gun at the swordmasters. So that's 4 attacks, needing 4+ to hit. So that's 3 hits and needing 3+ to wound. So that is 2 wounds.
Okay, so 2 wounds, normal save of 4+, and they're in cover, so that's 3+, but -1 Ren, so it's back to 4+. And this is re-rollable because of their special ability, but they save both anyway, so no wounds there.
Next, the grudge thrower is going to shoot Tyrion over here, needing a 3+ to hit. That's a 6. That needs 3+ to wound. That's a wound. So that's a save with a rend of a -2.
Okay, so 3+ save and a rend -2, so 5+ to save, which he doesn't do, so he takes 3 wounds. So he's down to 3.
And because the grudge thrower has the rune of reloading, the master engineer is within 1 inch of it. It gets to shoot twice in the same phase. So he's going to try and shoot Tyrion again. So we're needing 3s to hit. That's a 4. And 3s to wound. And that's another wound.
Ooh, so 5+ to save here. No! Okay, so that's 3 wounds on Tyrion, so he's down to 0, but he's got Heart of Avalorn. So on a 2+, he basically, he's not slain and all of his wounds are restored, but the heart's broken. So 2+, yes! So he's back to full wounds, but he's lost the Heart of Avalorn.
Okay, next the cannon is going to shoot the swordmasters. So it's got two shots hitting on 4s, and they both hit. And it's going to be 2+ to wound. So that's 1 wound. and that's
one attack with the d6 damage.
d6 damage, so that's 3 damage.
Okay, and what's the rend on it?
-2.
Okay, so that's 5+ save. So that's 1 failed save, but I've got deflect shots, so I can, in my shooting phase, I can reroll all failed save throws. So that's 1 dead.
And lastly, the organ gun is going to shoot at the swordmasters. So I'm going to try and shoot 4 barrels. So let's see whether we can. We need to roll a 4+. And so we can. And then we do 4 to hits rolls of 3+. They all hit. And to see how many attacks that is, that's 4d6. So that is 16. Okay, so that's 16 to wound rolls of 3+. So that is 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 wounds.
Okay, saving on a 4+, rerollable. And that is, whoa, 6 rerolls. 2 dead.
Okay, so that's the end of the shooting phase. And so we're not going to be doing any charges. So we go into the battle shock phase, and the sword masters need to take a battle shock test.
Okay, so 1d6 plus the number of casualties, which is 3. Ooh, so that's 9. And because I've got Tyrion's Defender of Ulthuan, I use his bravery, which is 9. So there's nobody flees.
Okay, so into battle round 2, we're going to roll and see who gets to take the first phase. So roll the 2 and
Okay,
2.
yeah.
Okay,
High Elf turn 2. Okay, so I'll start my turn by using Defender of Ulthuan again on Tyrion. So all units within 24 inches get his bravery. And now magic. So Teclis is going to cast his Arcane Bolt on the hammers over there. They're more than 18 inches, so I had a cast value of 5. And with his special abilities, that means I need a 6+ for it to go off. Oh. Reroll that, which he makes, and so that's d3 mortal wounds. So that's 2 wounds. The hammers. Yeah. Okay, next I'll cast Mystic Shield on Tyrion. He's going to save his brother here. So we've got a cast value of 6, and so I need a 4+, which he makes. So Mystic Shields on him. He gets a +1 to his save. The next my next hero phase. And lastly, Teclis is going to cast Tempest on the hammers over there. So they're more than 18 inches and the cast value of 5, so I need a 6+ to double the range. Oh, and Snake Eyes, so nothing there. And that's the magic over and the hero phase over, so it's into movement. And start movement, so I'm going to move my archers. I'm just going to move them 6. I'm just going to sort of turn to face the gyro bomber over there. And Teclis will just move up over here next to the house. So he gains, well, he would gain fear if he's there at the start of the turn. And my sword masters are going to move 6 to just bring them up here. Tyrion's going to move forward, but he can't get within 3 inches of any enemy model, so he's just going to park himself there. And the chariot here, the lion chariot, is going to move 9, just up to here. And the silver helms are going to move to 3 inches away from the warriors up there. So they're just charging up the hill there. And the eagle is just, he's going to fly to within 3 inches of the warriors as well. So all getting ready for a big charge here. And that's movement over for the high elves. Okay, so my archers are going to shoot at the gyro bomber over there. So it's within 20 inches and it normally hits on a 4+, but because it's got 20 models it hits on a 3+. 2+ for the champion. Champion's yellow dice. So 3s to hit. And the champion, so quite good. Now to wound, it is a 4+, So that is 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14 wounds. 4 plus to save.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Jar Bomber's dead.
It's got 5 wounds, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty good. And now the repeater bolt thrower is going to shoot at the hammers over here. So that's 12 shots. And we're hitting on 4 plus. Oh, sorry, yeah, 4 plus. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. And we're wounding on a 3 plus. So that is 3 wounds. And it's got a rend of -1.
So that's a 5 plus save. So that's 1 hammer dead.
Okay. And lastly, for shooting, Tyrion's going to throw his sword, Sunfang, at the Longbeards there. So it's got a range of 8 inches. It's 6 attacks, hitting on 3s. And wounding on 4s. No wounds.
Wow, bad rolls there.
Yeah,
Unlucky.
so that's the end of shooting. Now the charge phase, I'm going to attempt to charge his hammers over here with the Swordmasters. So that is 6 inches. We need to get within half an inch. First model in our unit within half an inch of his unit. So we need 6 or higher here. Come on, boys. No, 4 inches. So they actually just stay where they are.
Yep.
And next we're going to charge with Tyrion into the the Longbeards there. So he's 3 inches away, so he basically just needs to get within half an inch, so he needs a 3 plus here, which he makes. So Tyrion moves in there. Okay, the chariot here is going to charge into the warriors there, so we need a 5 plus, which we get. And the silver helms, they're within 3, so we need a 3 plus. They're charging the warriors, which we get. So silver helms move in. And lastly, my great eagle here is also going to charge the warriors, so he needs a 3 as well, which he makes. So you can just move him over. Okay, so Tyrion's going to attack the Longbeards here. He's got 6 attacks and they are hitting on 3s. So that is 3 hits. They are wounding on 4s. Sorry, wounding on 3s. So that's 3 wounds, and each wound causes D3 damage. So that is 5 wounds, and it's got a rend of -2.
So that's a 6 plus save.
Yeah.
So that's
4 dead. And Malhandir the horse has got 2 attacks, hitting on 4 plus. They both hit, wounding on 3 plus. That's 1 wound and no rend.
So that's a 4 plus save. Made.
Okay.
Okay, so the Longbeards are going to pile in here. And that means we've got 4 attacks. And
2 for the champion, right?
Yeah, 2 for the champion. So that's hitting on 3s. And wounding on 4s. So that's no wound.
Okay. Okay, so the chariot here, the lion chariot that charged the warriors, we'll start with the great axes. So that's 4 attacks hitting on 3s. So that's 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds and a rend of -1.
So they usually have a 5 plus save, but they're in cover. So that was a 4 plus with the -1 rend,
Okay.
5 plus. That's
Ooh.
boxcars.
Both saved. Okay, next the War Lion's Fangs and Claws. It's normally 4 attacks, but because I charged, it is actually 8 attacks. So 8 attacks hitting on 4s. That's, wow.
Bad roll.
2 hits. Wounded on 3s. 1 wound, and there's no rend on it.
So this is a 4 plus save.
And
That's
a
failed.
2, so 1 dead. Okay, now it's the dwarf's turn to attack back or pile in.
So they can do a 3-inch, up to a 3-inch pile-in move. Squeeze them around there. many as possible able to attack the silver helm.
The dwarves have piled in there.
So we've got 12 warriors, including a champion, that are within 1 inch of the silver helms. So we're going to get 13 attacks, and that's with the double-handed dwarf axe. So that hits on a 4. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hits. And it wounds on a 3+. And I get to re-roll wounds because of the
mystical hill. Yeah.
So I get to re-roll that. So they all wound. So that's 6 wounds with a -1 rend.
Okay, so normal save of 4+, so that's a 5+ save.
And you can re-roll ones.
Oh yeah, I can re-roll ones because they're elven shields. So 1 save. So 5 wounds total, so 2 are dead and 1 of them's down to 1 wound. Now we're attacking with the silver helms back at the dwarf warriors. So that is 2 attacks for the hero and 3 for the normal silver helms. So they're hitting on 4s. Whoa!
Bad roll.
Only 1 hit. Wounding on 4s. It's 1 wound and normal 1 damage. No rend. So
A 4+ save.
So that's 1 dead. And then we've got the horses, which all have 2 attacks each. So that's 8. Horses are pretty strong, huh? 2 attacks each. Hitting on 4s. That is for 5 hits. Wounding on 5s. That's 3 wounds and no rend.
So 4+. All made.
All made, okay. And lastly, the Great Eagle over there, because he charged, he gets 6 attacks, and they hit on 4s. 2 hits, wound on 3s, 1 wound, and no rend.
4+ save. Made.
So, nothing there. And that is the end of the combat phase. So, we are into the battle shock phase. Just because the silver helms do 2 damage rather than 1, we had one attack went through that we should have made an additional save for, so
Yeah,
one more save there.
1 more save. And that's failed, so that's another dwarf warrior dead.
Yeah. Okay, so battle shock for the dwarf warriors over here. We've had 4 casualties, so roll dice. That's a 4 plus 4, that's 8, and their bravery 6.
So that's another 2 that flee.
Yeah, 2 flee. Okay, so we're moving 2 for the battle shock. And battle shock for the silver helms, they get Tyrion's leader bravery of 9, so just 1 dice is 3 plus their 2 casualties, so none of them flee. And it's actually just 1 that flees.
Yeah, because of the clan banner, they halve the number of models that flee from failed battle shock, so only 1 run away.
Now battle shock for the longbeards here, so it's a 4, and we had 4 casualties, so that's 8, and their bravery 7.
So that's 1 flees.
1 flees. And that's the end of the turn for the High Elves, so it's into Duardin turn 2, and this is how it's looking.
Okay, so start off Duardin hero phase, and we've got some befuddle tests to make for the mystical scenery, and we'll start with the cannon. That passes. The master engineer. That passes. The grudge thrower. That passes. The organ gun. That passes. Belgar fails again. The Rune Lord passes. The hammers, they pass. The Dragon Slayer fails. The unit of Dwarf Warriors pass. And I think the Longbeards are away for 3 inches. So Belgar and the Dragon Slayer are basically paralyzed until next hero phase. Okay, so the Master Engineer here is going to try and repair the cannon. So it's D3. So that's 1. Sorry, it's not a Master Engineer, that's actually Grim Burloxen, so he gets to repair D3. The Rune Lord's going to try and cast Forge Fire on the Hammerers. So we need to roll a 2+, and he makes it. So the Hammerers get an extra point of rend. Okay, so into the movement phase, and What I'm going to do now is use one of the new rules with Age of Sigmar, and that is that if you've got models in hand-to-hand combat, you can actually retreat them, you can pull them out of combat, and these Longbeards are going to retreat from Tyrion. So I'll just pull them back here. Now what that means is that they cannot shoot or charge during this turn. The Rune Lord is going to move up here, getting ready to charge the chariot. Also, one of the reasons I retreated the Longbeard is now that Tyrion's in the open, I can get a shot on him with the cannon. That tree's in the way, so we're going to have to move our artillery, and they can move up to 4 inches. So I'm just going to move them over to the right here. So moving the artillery battery has removed the ability to re-roll saves from the formation bonus.
Right?
Yeah, the entrenched bonus. So they no longer have that for the rest of the battle. And the hammers are going to maneuver just to get into a better position to charge Tyrion. Okay, so start of the shooting phase, the organ gun is going to shoot at the shield, Swordmasters. Yeah. Sorry. And we're going to try and use 4 barrels. So that fails, but because we have an engineer within 1 inch, we get to re-roll that. And that passes. So to hit with 4 barrels is 3+. So they all hit. And to see, that's 4d6 attacks. So that is 7.
15?
Yes. So that is 3+ to wound. Okay, so that was 15 attacks and needing 3+ to hit, to wound, sorry. So that's quite a lot of failures there. So that is only 5 wounds.
Okay, and is any rend on it?
There is a -1.
Okay, so they're saving on 5s. And because of their whirling blades, they can reroll all of them, all failed ones. So 3 dead.
Okay, next the Grudge Thrower is going to target Tyrion. So that is 2 shots because we've got an engineer there, so the Grudge Thrower can shoot twice. Hitting on 3s, so that's 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, that is 6 damage.
And I make 2 saves, right? Okay, so there's 2 saves to make here. Each one fails, he takes 3 wounds. Oh. And he's normal 3+, 5+ with the rend, so that's 6 wounds. And his Heart of Avalorn's gone. So he charges against Spellthorn and stabs him. And then he runs off the table.
Tyrion has fallen. So next the cannon is going to shoot at the Swordmasters. So we need 4+ to hit. So that's 1 hit. Because there's an engineer within 1 inch, we get to reroll misses. So there's 2 hits, wounding on a 2+. That's 2 wounds, each one doing d6 damage. It's 11 wounds.
Okay, so they're normal 4+ save, the rend at 6+. So, wow, 3 saved, and they get to reroll failed saves because of their whirling dervish or whatever it's called. So, and that is 7 wounds. So that is Swordmasters wiped out.
Okay, that's the end of the shooting phase. So into the charge phase, and the hammers are going to try and charge the chariot. So measured up, and that's 7 inches. So they failed.
So they just stay where they are.
And next, the Rune Lord is going to try and charge the chariot, and that's 5 inches. And that's 5, so he gets in just. And into the combat phase. Okay, so start of the combat phase, and the Rune Lord is going to attack the chariot. So we'll start with his Rune Staff, and that's hitting on 4s. So it's hit, and it's wounding on 3s. No wound. And then he's got 2 Forge Hammer attacks hitting on 4s, 1 hit, and wounding on 4s. So that's a wound there.
Okay, 4+ save. which he makes. Okay, so my chariot's going to attack back at the Rune Lord. So there's some angry lions there. We'll start with the axes, great axes from the warriors. So 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 2 hits, wounded on 3s, 2 wounds, and a -1 rend.
So he's saving on 5+, or 4+, because he's within terrain. So that's 1 wound. So he's down to 4 wounds. Okay, the Rune Lord didn't actually get a +1 save because he charged into the terrain feature this turn.
Okay, now the 4 attacks from the White Lions, hitting on 4s, all hits, wounding on 3s, 3 wounds, and there's no rend on that, so 4+ save.
So there's another 2 wounds, so he's down to 2 wounds. So next in the combat phase we've got the Dwarf Warriors, and they're going to be attacking the Silver Helms. So we've got 13 attacks, hitting on 4s, 7 hits, and wounding on 3s. And because they're in the terrain feature, they get to reroll failed wounds. That's from Mystical, so that is 5 wounds.
Okay, and I'm saving on 4s, but I get the cover bonus for being in the terrain. So that's 3s. Is any rend? No?
Yeah, -1.
Okay, so 4s. And that's 2 wounds. So that's 1 Silver Helm dead and 1 down to 1 wound. Okay, so Silver Helm's hitting back. 2 attacks for the champion. Hitting on 4s, so that is 3 hits. Wounding on 4s, which is 1 wound, no rend.
So that is a 4+ save.
Is that with the cover bonus?
Yes,
okay.
And that's saved.
And now the horses, 4 horses, 2 attacks each, hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s. That is 2 wounds, no rend.
So that's 2 4+ saves, and 2 failed. So
yeah, the horses got some casualties. Okay, so now the eagle's attacking the warriors. It's got 4 attacks hitting on 4s. That is 3 hits, wounding on 3s, 2 wounds, and no rend.
So it's 2 4+, both saved.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the end of the combat phase. So we're into the battle shock phase, and the warriors need to make a test. So we've had 2 casualties, and they're bravery 6. So that is
6.
Yeah. So that's 2 flee, and because of their banner, that's halved. So only 1 flees.
And for the Silver Helms, I've got a 5 plus 1 casualty, so 6, and their bravery 7. So none of them.
And that's the end of Duardin turn 2.
Okay, so it's battle round 3. So let's roll to see who can choose.
So I think I'll be taking the next round.
Ooh,
so I'll take the first round.
2 turns in a row for the dwarfs.
Okay, so start off Duardin turn 3, and we're into the hero phase, and we have to make some tests for the mystical forest again. So we'll start with the cannon, and we need a 2+. That makes it. The engineer fails. The organ gun passes, and finally the grudge thrower fails. So the grudge thrower will be unable to shoot this turn. And we've got some more tests over here. And Belgar,
Third time lucky.
He's failed twice in a row now, so he gets to do things this turn. So we'll see what happens with him. We've got the Dragon Slayer next, and he passes. We've got the unit of Longbeard, only 2 of them left, and they pass. We've got the Rune Lord, and he passes. And finally the Dwarf Warriors, and they pass. So let's get into the movement phase. Belgar is going to use his command ability, Oath of Vengeance, and he's going to put it on the Dwarf Warriors. And what that does is it gives each one of them an extra attack. So that's quite good. And the Rune Lord's going to cast Forge Fire, and this time it's going to be on the Dwarf Warriors. And that'll give them +1 on the rend, and he needs to make a 2+ to do that. And so yes, that succeeds. So they have +1 rend until next hero phase. And that's us finished, and we're into the movement phase. So Belgar is going to move up the hill 4 inches. Next the hammers are going to wheel around here to get in charge line up a charge against the chariot. And the Longbeards are just going to move up here to charge the chariot.
Yeah, 3 inches.
And lastly, the Dragon Slayer is going to move up here the hill, ready for a charge. So, start of the shooting phase, we're going to have the Dwarf cannons going to shoot at the archers. And we're needing 4+ to hit. And because of the engineer, we get to reroll misses. So, that is 2 hits. Wounded on a 2+. Wow. Snake eyes.
And the cannonball just into the horizon.
Okay, so next we're going to have the organ gun shoot at the archers. So we're going to try and shoot 4 barrels. So we need to roll a 4+ to see if it jams. And that fails, but we've got an engineer, so we can re-roll that. And it passes. So we need 4 3+ to hit. So all 4 barrels have hit. And to see how many attacks there are, 4d6.
Ouch.
12, 17, 20 hits.
Okay, 20 to wounds.
Okay, so 20 hits, needing 3+ to wound. So that is 15 wounds with a -1 rend.
Ouch. So there are 6+ normal saves, so they don't actually get a save. So that's 15 models dead.
Wow, that was quite an insane shot by the organ gun. I think these guys are going to fail their battle shock test.
There's no way that they can... well, they're all going to flee, because there's no way that with a -15 modifier that they can do anything else.
And that's the end of the shooting phase. So into the charge phase, and the hammers are going to try and charge the chariot, and we're needing 4. And they just make it. Next, Belgar is going to try and charge the chariot, and we're needing 5 inches. And that fails. So he just stays where he is. And lastly, the Troll Slayer is going to try and charge the Great Eagle, and we're needing anything other than Snake Eyes.
Dragon Slayer.
Oh, Snake Eyes! So that is a failed charge by the Dragon Slayer. Actually, I think because Belgar and Dragon Slayer failed their charges, I'm actually going to charge the Longbeards into the chariot. So we're needing 3. And they're in. So into the combat phase, and the hammers are going to do their 3-inch pile-in. So we're going to try and get as many as possible in there. Okay, so after measuring up, we've got 5 guys within range of the chariot, including the champion, so that's 11 attacks. And we're hitting on 3+. So we've got 9 hits, and we're wounding on 3+. So that's 8 wounds. Sorry, 7 wounds.
Okay, and we're a 4+ save. And what's your rend?
-1.
So I have 5+, but we're in cover, so that's a 4+. And that's 2 wounds. So he's down to 4 wounds. Okay, so the White Lion Chariot is going to attack back at the hammers. So 4 attacks from the Christian Great Axes, hitting on 3s. So that's 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. 1 wound with the -1 rend.
So that's a 5+ save. Fails.
So that's 1 dead. And now the lions, they've got 4 attacks hitting on 4s. And they're wounding on 3s. And that's 1 wound. No rend.
So that's a 4+ save. Made.
Okay.
Okay, so next we're going to attack with the Dwarf Warriors against the Silver Helms. And that's 11 attacks, hitting on 4s. So that is 7 hits, and wounding on 3s. And that's 7 wounds.
Okay, I'm a 4+ save.
And that's with a -2 rend because the warriors have Forge
so
Fire.
6+, but I'm in cover, so it's 5+. So that is 2, 4 saves, 3 wounds. So he's dead, and 1 more is dead.
And the extra attacks from Oath of Vengeance that was put on the Dwarf Warriors. So we're hitting on 4s and wounding on 3s. And we can reroll wounds because of the terrain feature, the mysterious
Okay, so that's 5 saves, and I'm saving on 3+. There's no rend, is there?
Yeah, there's a -2.
Oh, okay, so that's a 5+ save then. So that is 4 wounds.
So that's another 2 silver helms dead.
Okay, so the Silver Helm champion is going to attack the dwarfs. So the hit on 4s, none, and the horse to hit on 4s, wounded on 5s, so no wounds from the Silver Helms. So the eagle's attacking the warriors, so it's 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, and wounded on 3s. That's 2 wounds. No rend.
So 4+ save. That's
2 dead.
another 2 dead. Okay, so next over here we've got the 2 Longbeards here, and they're going to attack the chariot. They're hitting on 3s and wounding on 4s. So 3+ to wound, 2 hits, and 4+ to wound, 2 wounds. No rend.
Okay, and I'm saving on 4s. Well, 3s because they're in cover. So 2 saves.
So the Rune Lord's going to attack the chariot, and he's going to be using his rune staff. He's hitting on a 4, and he misses. So he's going to use his Forge Hammer next. He's got 2 attacks with that, and they're hitting on 4s. So you get 1 hit and wounding on 4s. That's another wound with no rend.
Okay, and I'm saving on
3+, I believe. It's 4+ usually with a +1 for
4+,
cover.
3+. Saved.
Okay. And that is the end of the combat phase. So into the battle shock phase, and we're going to need a test for the dwarf warriors, and they've had 2 casualties. So let's have a roll. We got 2 onto their bravery 6. That's 8.
No, that's 2 onto the casualties of 2.
Ah,
so,
yes.
there's nothing. No,
Yeah,
nothing.
2 onto, so that makes 4, and that's less than their bravery of 6. So no casualties for the dwarf warriors. And the hammer suffered a casualty, but because they've got the Kingsguard special rule, they never need to take a battle shock test whenever they're within 16 inches of a hero.
Okay, so my turn for battle shock. My archers here. They've had 15 people have fled. So 19 minus their bravery of 6. So 13 of them flee, but there's only 5, so they're all off. Okay, Silver Helms, we've lost 4 this turn, so 4 + 6 is 10, and the bravery 7, so he flees. That's Silver Helms wiped. So start of turn 3 for the High Elves, and I'm going to take my mystical scenery test. So for the Great Eagle, I need a 2+. Oh, and it's a 1, so he's befuzzled. Can't do anything for the turn. And the Chariot is a 1, so the Chariot can't do anything either. Okay, and Teclis is going to cast Arcane Bolt on Belagar over there. So it's over 18 inches, so it's a 5 to cast, or cast value of 5. So I need 6+, which I get. So that's a D3 mortal wounds on Belagar. 1 wound.
So he's down to 4 wound.
Okay, next he's going to cast Mystic Shield on the Chariot there. So that's a cast value of 6. So I need a 7+, which he makes. So there's a +1 save on the Chariot now. And lastly, I'm going to cast Tempest on Belagar. So that has got a cast value of 5. So I need a 6+. Which he makes, so Belagar takes 1 wound, and he must half his distance he moves or charges until the next hero phase.
Is that a wound or a mortal wound?
A mortal wound. Next movement, and I'm going to move Teclis 6 inches over to here. It should be just behind the house. Okay, and into shooting, so my repeater bolt thrower is going to shoot Belagar over there. So I'm going to use Ithelmar bolts, which are a little bit more powerful against characters. So because I've got my 2 crew, I've got 2 bolts that are hitting on 3s. Yeah, okay, one's hit to wound 3+.
Just bounces off his beard.
Yeah, it just bounces off. So that's shooting over, and because my guys are befuzzled in the combat phase, they basically just stand there and get hit. So I guess take your pick who you want to start with.
We'll start with the hammers.
The hammer is attacking the chariot.
Hitting on 3s with 11 attacks. That's actually quite a bad roll. We've got 6 hits and to wound 3+. So that's 6 wounds.
So normal save of 4+, in cover, so that's 3+, minus 2 rend, so that's a 5+.
Oh, minus 1 rend.
Oh, sorry, 4+, and then he's got Mystic Shield from Teclis, so that's 3+. So that is 2 wounds, so he's down to 2.
Okay, next the Longbeards. They're going to attack the chariot, and there are 3 attacks, hitting on 3s. Wounded on 4s. So that's 1 wound. With no rend.
And no rend, so that's a 2+ save. Which he fails, so he's down to 1 wound.
And the Rune Lord's going to attack the chariot, and we'll start with his Rune Staff. That's hitting on 4s, hits, and wounding on 3s. Fails to wound. And he's also got 2 attacks from his Forge Hammer, and that's hitting on 4s. And wounding on 4s. No wounds.
Nothing.
But he's on the mysterious.
Oh, okay, yep. So he can reroll to wounds.
Reroll to wounds. So it's 1 wound.
And saving on is any rend?
2+, no rend.
Okay, 2+.
Go Rune Lord.
And that is the White Lion Chariot out of the game.
Okay, so start off this combat here. We're gonna have a 3-inch pile in. So try and get as many as we can in here. Okay, so we've got 7 attacks from the Dwarf Warriors against the Eagle, and they're hitting on 4s. So that is 5 hits, and wounding on 3s. And reroll because of the terrain. So that's 4 wounds with a -1 rend.
Okay, so it's a normal 6+ save, but he's in cover, so it's 5+, 6+ with the rend. And 2 wounds, so he's down to 2 wounds. And now the Battle Shock phase, we don't have any Battle Shock tests to make, so it's the end of High Elf turn 3. So now we're into rolling for turn 4. Okay, rolling for turn 5. Okay, so dwarfs to choose.
I'll start. Okay, so start off Duardin turn 4, and we have to make some befuddled tests for the mysterious forest. And so we'll start with the cannon. We need a 2+, and that fails, so the cannon's going to be paralyzed this turn. The engineer need a 2+, that's passed. The organ gun, that's failed, so the organ gun's out of action as well. And lastly, the grudge thrower, and that passes. And we've got some more befuddled tests over here for the mysterious hill. So we'll start with Belgar, needing 2+, he's okay. The Rune Lord. The Rune Lord's paralyzed. The Hammers, they're okay.
Longbeards?
The Longbeards, they're okay. The Warriors, they're okay. And the Dragon Slayer is okay. And lastly, Belgar's going to use his Oath of Vengeance on the Dwarf Warriors to give them an extra attack in the combat phase. So movement, and the Hammers are going to move up 4 inches and try and run. So D6, 1 inch. And the Longbeards are going to try and run. It's 3 inches.
Coming after Teclis' hit squad here.
And the Dragon Slayer is going to try and run. So that's going to be 5 inches. It's going to move up. And lastly, Belgar is going to move up, and he can only move 2 inches because he's still affected by Tempest, and that halves his movement into the shooting phase. And the Grudge Thrower is going to shoot at the Repeating Bolt Thrower. That's just in range. So with 2 shots, we're going to need 3+ to hit and 3+ to wound. So that's a failed hit here, and 3+ to wound. That's a wound, so that's 3 damage on Repeating Bolt Thrower.
So that's 4 wounds, so it's down to 1 wound. Started at 4.
That's the end of the shooting phase, so we're into the combat phase, and so we'll do the Great Eagle fight here with the Warriors. So we'll pile in 3 inches. the Dwarf Warriors, they have Oath of Vengeance, so that gives them an extra attack. So this is 17 attacks against the Great Eagle. Hitting on 4s. 8 hits. And to wounding on 3s. With a reroll from the terrain feature, the Mysterious Hill. So that is...
Okay, any rends?
Yeah, that's a -1 rend.
Okay, so it's 6+, but he's in cover, so 6+. And that is 5 wounds, so he's dead. He was down to
2 wounds.
2 wounds. So.
That's the end of the combat phase, and we don't have any battle shock tests to take, so it goes straight into Elf turn 5. Or
Okay.
turn 4.
Yep, turn 4. Okay, so turn 4 for Teclis and the Repeater Bolt Thrower, because that's all that's left. Okay, so we'll start by casting Arcane Bolt from Teclis, and he's going to do it on the hammers. So that is cast value of 5, so I need a 6+, which he makes. So that's a D3 mortal wounds. There's 3 mortal wounds on the hammers. Okay, now Teclis is going to cast Mystic Shield on himself, and that has a cast value of 6, so I need a 7. Which he makes, so he gets a +1 save. And he's going to cast Tempest on the hammers. So he needs a cast value of 5, so we need a 6+. Which we make. So it does 1 mortal wound to the hammers, and they're slowed by half. Okay, so the shooting phase, I'm going to use my Repeater Bolt Thrower, is going to shoot against Belagar over there. So that's a 3+ to hit. I'm going to use Ithelmar bolts, 2 of them. 1 hit to wound, a 3+, which he makes. Now a save. It's got a rend of -2.
Ooh. So Belgar has a 3+ save normally, but he's in cover, so that's the 2+, and then the
Rend of -2, so 4+.
4+ save.
Which he makes. Okay, so it doesn't do anything. And that's pretty much it. I don't have any other units, so no close combat and no battle shock. So end of turn 4 for the High Elves, and I think I'm just going to forfeit the match because I've only got Teclis and the Repeater Bolt Thrower left. So let's get into the post match, guys. Okay, so we're into the post match. That was a really good game. I really
enjoyed that game. That was it was very positional. There was a lot of influence from the terrain features, and the models looked great on the board. I thought I really enjoyed it.
I liked how the diagonal setup, actually, when you picked that, I thought it might cause a bit of complications and it wouldn't play out very well, but I think as long as you don't bunch up in a corner, it actually looked really epic. I felt like the first turns, when the armies were coming together in like a bit of an S shape, it actually looked like something, if you panned off like I don't know, some sort of Spartan epic war or something, where the clash is coming together.
It is. It was really quite epic. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. That scenery definitely did have a big effect on the game.
We had a mysterious hill here and a mysterious hill in
mystical.
Mystical.
Yeah, it really makes a difference as well, doesn't it? Like,
well, you wouldn't think so, if only having to roll 2+ to avoid the effect of it. But the amount of times I failed that roll, I mean, for the first 2 turns, Belgar was totally useless.
Yeah.
And the bonus that it gives you is actually really good. You get to re-roll to wound,
especially for artillery. Like your thrower, your rock lobber, what's it called, the grudge thrower, like that does 3 wounds if it wounds. So being able to re-roll that 1, so 3 damage if it wounds. So if that re-roll is actually very strong as long as it doesn't become.
I want to talk about this formation from the War Scroll. It's the Dispossessed or Artillery Battery, and that's a Dwarf Engineer and 3 pieces of artillery. What the Engineer does for the artillery is amazing. It really buffs them to...
Well, it's double shots on the grudge thrower, isn't it?
Yeah, for example, the grudge thrower gets to shoot twice in the shooting phase, so it's effectively really like having 2 grudge throwers. And I think that was the reason why Tyrion died. That grudge thrower, for me, grudge thrower was MVP.
He did 12 wounds on Tyrion, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, I can't believe you killed Tyrion. Leader of the High Elves. But he'll be back. in some reincarnation in our next battle report.
I'm sure I'll see him again.
I was quite impressed with Teclis actually. He was kind of silent all battle, you know. He was kind of just sitting at the back, like you know, popping away a couple of mortal wounds.
Yeah, it seemed like he was just chipping bits off my units, units. You know. He definitely made his presence felt, and I found it really annoying that he could hang back like with such a far range away from them and just chip away at them like D3 mortal wounds every hero.
But he's really good, like being able to cast 3 spells per turn. It's the only way that kind of makes him effective. I mean, if he was only casting 1 spell like a normal wizard, then it's not so great. But I think having that 1 arcane bolt, and then you've got the mystic shield, which so you've got a defensive, you've got an offensive, and then Tempest, which is a special one. That being able to slow units. Like at the end of that game, I was really thinking about just dragging it on for a few more turns, just to have a laugh with Teclis, kiting the dwarfs about and just tempesting them to slow them down, and then a couple of more.
And you know what? That it would have worked. It would have worked against dwarves. Just imagine dwarves trying to chase Teclis. I mean, they're never going to catch it.
Well, yeah.
But I think in another game, maybe a different matchup, that sort of spell, the Tempest spell, you'd put that on something fast moving and dangerous. You know, imagine if you were playing against another high elf player with Tyrion.
Yeah.
You would cast that on Tyrion and it would slow him right down.
Well, I can see that being really useful if I went for a more shooty list. So let's say I put 3 or 4 repeater bolt throwers and then a line of archers, and I just, you know, I played defensively because, you know, he would slow the advance. So like against Chaos, for example, I think, you know, Chaos Warriors and stuff, just keeping them back and just peppering them every turn, I think that would work really well.
Slowing down the advance of the dangerous units.
Yeah. So that was quite good. It was a bit of a waste putting the archers on that side of the table next to the artillery. I thought at the start I was going to just shoot up your artillery. That would take care of them. But after the first round,
it was 38 shots, and the only reason that cannon survived was because of the formation bonus that gave them entrenched positions. They get to reroll saves.
Yeah, that was really strong.
I think that's really big in Age of Sigmar. The saving throws are a lot more important.
Yeah, because it's harder to get a modifier to the save, right? Because okay, you've got Rend, but Rend, like, it's not as common as with Warhammer. You had based on strength a modifier to the weapon. So if you're hitting with like weapon, strength 7, you've got like a -4. Or if you're hitting with strength 10, you know, it's like.
Well, just for comparison, the hammerers in 8th edition, they were strength 5, so they'd have a -3, and they had armor piercing as well. So
-2.
Yeah, -2, but they'd have a -1 extra from armor piercing.
Yeah.
So they'd -3 off a saving throw.
Yeah.
But in Age of Sigmar, they only have a -1 rend. So it seems like the saving throws are very powerful.
And rerollable saving throws are
just
amazing. Like, I didn't feel like I was going to kill them artillery crew by shooting at all, which is where you get the rerollable from, right? Like in hand-to-hand, they wouldn't get that reroll. So
your sword masters, they had kind of a rerollable saving throw versus shooting attacks.
Yeah.
I think one turn they.
Well, it looks like a lot of units are like that, where they get a special save against shooting, but it doesn't apply in close combat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was I really enjoyed that game. I mean, I thought as a first full-scale battle game, like that beat my expectations after having played the small practice game.
Yeah, I have to say that I had more fun playing this game than playing the first game. But I think the first game was more of a test game. But I think this was a bit more balanced, perhaps, in terms of size. I mean, my model count.
I think we did
50.
pretty well with the balancing. Like, balancing is a big question and a big issue for a lot of people. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that are doing these quite, like, you know, math hammering it with wounds and attacks and so on, bravery, and like trying to figure out how you can create a fair list. But I think if you just take a sensible approach to it, like, I think we did okay. You know,
2 named characters per side.
We didn't set any rigid criteria, but we just picked 2 armies and we said, you know, does this look like it's going to be a good fight? And we thought it would be, and it turned out, I think that was quite a good fight. I mean, you know, there was some tactical mistakes, I think, there which ended, you know, and not just the roll of dice, but putting my archers there and doing some other stuff. I think that's what lost me the game. But
I think it wasn't a case of you were steamrolled by a unbalanced list. I think it was a case of maybe minor tactical mistakes, like your eagle. I feel like your eagle would have been a lot more effective if you had put it on the other side of the board and went straight after the artillery because
but I just wanted
they're
to
vulnerable
make sure
to hand.
I didn't want to come in from this side with my silver helms and Tyrion, and with your hammers and warriors and everything, and push this way. And if what's his name, Belagar the befuzzled, if he hadn't have been befuzzled for so many turns,
for 2 turns in a row,
if he was in the combat there, I just wanted to make sure that I had enough weight on that side to be able to not get rolled over. So, but yeah. So yeah, really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. It was a very fun game to play.
Yeah, and we're going to do many more. We have pre-ordered the Age of Sigmar box set, so we're expecting that fairly soon.
So we'll be having a Sigmarite army and the
Chaos,
Gore-Tide.
Yeah.
So can't wait to see what new miniatures Games Workshop will be releasing for them.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see some of them in the coming weeks.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of talk recently on Fate about the balancing, and Games Workshop have said that these War Scrolls so far are kind of, there's a Games Workshop rep going around all the conventions, and he's been
answering questions.
Well, he's been authorized to answer questions, so usually they're quite closed doors on openly communicating with the community. But I think they're being a bit more open, and they're saying that this Age of Sigmar, the War Scrolls, there is some balance issues, there is some crazy spells and crazy abilities, but it's really just to give all the old Warhammer players a bit of a kind of, here you go, have some fun. But all the new range and the new models and War Scrolls for the new models, it'll be a lot more balanced than.
I think so. I think as it stands now, this is just a last hurrah for all of the previous models for Warhammer Fantasy. And what we're going to see is, with the newer models, we'll see a lot better balance.
Yeah, because you look at the lineup, you look at the new Age of Sigmar models, and I think there was a picture from Games Workshop of them next to some Empire models, and there's just no way that they look compatible, you know what I mean, in terms of size and scale and stuff. So this new range, I think, is eventually going to take over and dominate. I'm glad they've at least given us the ability to use our old models, but I'm really looking forward to the new stuff as well. So yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe, or check us out on tabletopminis.com. So thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Yep, see you next time.
See you next time.